Hello, UI Joy here. Today I'll be talking about semicolons. JavaScript semicolons. Should you or should you not put semicolons everywhere in your JavaScript code? That is the big question. So today I'll be doing a quick rundown on what ASI is, JavaScript's automatic semicolon insertion feature. Okay, let's begin. So it is true that JavaScript statements require a semicolon at the end of every statement. JavaScript does require semicolon at the end of every statement. That's what terminates the statement. Okay, so but even if you forget or even if you intentionally don't put semicolons, JavaScript interpreter would put a semicolon there for you anyway, totally automatically. So it doesn't matter if you have multiple statements, be whatever. When your code goes through the interpreter, JavaScript will do this for you automatically. That is called ASI, automatic semicolon insertion. That is a feature of JavaScript. It is a permanent feature of JavaScript. This isn't something you could turn on or off. Okay, so the automatic semicolon insertion is there, period. It does this for you automatically, totally automatically. So whether you use semicolons or choose to omit them does not matter, because ultimately, at the end, what gets interpreted is this. So if anyone tells you that you must always put semicolons in your JavaScript code or you're doing it wrong, is wrong. They're wrong. Because semicolons are totally a preference thing. It's totally up to you. But however, if you feel comfortable seeing semicolons everywhere, by all means, do it. If that's your habit, there's nothing wrong with it. And if your company or organization enforces it for whatever reason, just stick to the convention and go with it. There's nothing wrong with using the semicolons or not using the semicolons. Okay? Even when you visit the ECMAScript specification, it tells you that you could rely on ASI entirely when writing JavaScript. Because it's why they created this feature for in the first place, you would think. So let me drive that point home using some examples. I'm going to create a little function here, some silly function. Return hello. Okay. I'm going to console that out. And, what the hell? Okay. Okay, obviously it will give me hello, right? Hello. Okay. This JavaScript statements could be written all in one line. So if you were to write this statement in one line, save, it will still work, right? But let's suppose you have multiple statements in here. A is 10, B is 1, return A plus B. Okay, this will give you 11, right? But if you try to write this statement, these statements in a single line, you probably could guess what's going to happen. It's going to fail because JavaScript ASI does not know where to put semicolons automatically. It does not know. So if you really want to write this statement in one line, you have to put semicolons yourself. Save. Now there it works. Otherwise, you have to provide proper line terminators, line breaks. So when it sees a new line, JavaScript ASI would automatically do this when it sees a proper line terminator. So, okay, having looked at all that, there are several rules you must remember related to ASI if you want to rely on it. Okay, let's keep this. Let's say if you want to return something, right? Let's say you're returning some string, in this case. You have to make sure your return statement and the thing that you are trying to return stays in one line, right? Okay, save, this is hello. If you do this, JavaScript ASI would automatically put a semicolon there. JavaScript ASI would always put a semicolon after a return statement because the return statement by itself is totally perfectly legal JavaScript statement. So it will always do that. Therefore, it will never get to the second line. If you save that, undefined. So if you want to return, if you're using a return statement, make sure they are in a single line with the thing that you want to return. Okay? Don't do this because that will cause JavaScript to do this, which is not what you want. Okay, another rule. At the end, as long as your syntax is legal and it has a proper line terminator, we know that JavaScript will do this automatically, right? But if the new line starts with a parentheses, JavaScript ASI will not put a semicolon there. It will not do anything to this. It will just leave it as is. That is because even if this was written in a single line, that right there is still a perfectly legal JavaScript syntax. It is a function. So when JavaScript looks at this, it knows that if it puts a semicolon there, it will break the function. So it doesn't do anything. So if the new line starts with a parentheses, the ASI will not do anything. Also another scenario, if the new line starts with the angle bracket, again, JavaScript will not put a semicolon at the end of this line because, again, even if you were to do this, this right here is perfectly legal JavaScript syntax. So when JavaScript sees this, and it knows if it puts a semicolon there, it will break the array access because this is a array access. So when it sees when a new line starts with an angle bracket, JavaScript ASI will not do anything, will not put a semicolon in the previous line. Okay, so as long as you remember these rules, relying on JavaScript ASI is perfectly fine. Okay, as long as you know that JavaScript will not automatically put a semicolon if the new line starts with an angle bracket or if the new line starts with a parentheses. And JavaScript will always put a semicolon after a return statement. As long as you remember these rules, you should be fine relying on ASI. There are some more complex rules around ASI, but these are the core things you should remember around ASI. So, should you put semicolons everywhere or not? The answer is it's totally up to you.